So what's more infuriating than corporate welfare? Well, how about your tax dollars paying for corporate welfare overseas? Well, now there is a bipartisan support to abolish it. The IT, by the way, is a government-backed export-import bank, which shells out billions in loans each year to foreign customers of giant U.S. companies, including firms like Solyndra and Enron. John, you say it's time to slay this dragon.
I want to abolish this bank as soon as humanly possible. Why is it that taxpayers are on the hook to subsidize U.S. corporation sales to foreign entities? Now, the argument in favor of Ex-Im Bank is that it's profitable, that these loans make economic sense. That's all the more reason to abolish it. If these loans would occur without the Ex-Im Bank, abolish it so that these loans can take place in the private sector.
Well, and Rick, there is a convergence, if you will, between the left and the right against corporate welfare. We have people like Ralph Nader and Rand Paul getting together against this thing, aren't you?
Well, no, actually, I'm not. At the same time, you have people like Elizabeth Warren and the Chamber of Commerce supporting it. So you have convergence of left to right on both sides of the issue. Look, I am no fan.
By the way, Elizabeth Warren has spoken on both sides of this, but now that she's a senator,
currently,
she's in favor of it, yes.
So I'm no fan of corporate welfare. I think that's pretty well established. But in this case, I think that this is helping American businesses to get their products sold overseas. This is the wrong time to take that kind of help away. You take jobs away when you do that. I actually support continuing it.
Well, Sabrina, this is how bad it's got in terms of the Ex-Im Bank. There are actually cartoons now that you can find on the internet which talk about how politicians sort of rely on their contributions to the Ex-Im Bank in order to get reelected. Let's play a little bit of that cartoon.
It's given a helping handout to some great American companies like Enron, Solyndra, and Boeing, so that no vote could mean fewer contributions to your re-election campaign.
Now, Sabrina, admittedly, it's a cartoon, and cartoons can be simplistic, but is that true? Do the corporations actually kick back to the politicians who were in favor of this bank?
Yeah, exactly. It might be a cartoon, but it's getting at the real problem of government largesse, which is corruption. When the government gets into the business of picking winners and losers, yes, some companies will benefit, but many will lose, and that's the big problem. I think one company in particular, Delta Airlines, has been publicly critical of Ex-Im because it's saying, look, we compete against foreign companies like Air India who get loans and subsidies from the bank in order to buy Boeing jets. That puts them, Delta Airlines, at a disadvantage. So, the question is, why are we benefiting one at the expense of the other, all at the expense of the taxpayer?
Carrie, it sure smells like crony capitalism.
You know what, David? I'm going to go home and make my own cartoon. You just inspired me. Because, look, this all sounds great, and from an ideological purist point, you guys actually kind of remind me of the environmentalists. They basically want to kneecap American companies to force people to cut carbon. They want us to cut carbon here in America, but the rest of the world won't follow suit. And it's the same thing here. You guys want to kneecap American companies when the rest of the world isn't following suit. There are 60 other countries that have the equivalent, and why should we assume that they're going to do the same thing?
Well, but EMAC, at the same time, why should we you usually follow the leader, not the loser, right?
Yeah, and yeah, you're right. This is called the Bank of Boeing. 2/3 of the Ex-Im financing goes to the 10 biggest companies like GE and Caterpillar and Boeing.
I think 1/3 does go to Boeing.
And then, by the way, it goes to financing and helps out governments in the Middle East to buy our products. Why can't they get their own money to buy our products? I understand the argument there are 6 other countries that also have this kind of industrial policy, but I got to say there is kickbacks, bribery, and this is the worst kind of crony capitalism.
Just based on the fact that, and I know you have spoken out against corporate welfare, but there are kickbacks, Rick, on this, aren't there? I mean, isn't that unseemly enough to drop it?
There may be. You may be aware of some cases where that happened. I actually don't know, but
oh, please. I mean, you don't think that some of these corporations are getting money contributions from the companies that they're helping?
They may well be, yeah. But I got to tell you what's much more disconcerting to me: your utter, complete disrespect for cartoons.
I have no idea where you're going. John, you happen to be in L.A. right now, but you live in Washington. When I see the left and the right getting together and even cartoons and things, I think maybe there's real hope we're gonna change it. September, by the way, is when they have to vote for reauthorization. Will it be killed or not? What do you think?
I think it's going to have to be killed. I don't see how Republicans can go to voters in November if they keep this propped up in September. And, you know, we talk about the jobs allegedly created, but when Boeing gets a subsidized loan or one of their buyers does, but that's the seen. The unseen are all the jobs that are never created because government is directing capital toward favored industries at the expense of those who don't have Washington connections. Republicans, to be real, have to let this thing expire.
Thank you very much. That's got to be it. Now, you think corporate welfare is going wild? Well, how about individuals using government-issued welfare cards to get cash at pot shops? The outrage of the week on Cash It In. But first,